Hello everyone. We are from 4Bmmu Section 1/2. We are here today to conduct a forum on the topics number 1, roles of OSH legal requirements in business management. Number 2, Occupational Safety and Health Act in Malaysia and its salient features. Before we can start, I would like to introduce myself and the panelists. I, Piravin Thiran, will be the moderator. Panel 1 will be MANMITH Singh. Panel 2 will be Anthony Belayong. Panel 3 will be AMIRUL SULAIMAN. And panel 4 will be KARRTHIK. So let's start. First, I would like to ask Mr. MANMITH, what is your point of view about the negative impacts of poor OSH management and benefits of good OSH management?
Okay, hello everyone. My point of view for the negative part that individuals, companies, government and society all pay a hefty price of work-related injuries, illness and fatalities. Poor OSH management has a number of negative consequences including high medical costs and insurance premiums, early retirement costs, the loss of skilled employees, absenteeism and presenteeism. Presenteeism means like when the employee comes to work despite being sick, raising the risk of mistakes. Okay, various forms of costs are related with injuries, disease and fatalities. These factors are present in each occurrence of work-related injury or disease, and adding the expenses of all cases would yield an estimate of the overall occupational burden of injury and disease. This is the negatives. So for the positive, business that adhere to greater safety and health standards are more profitable and long-lasting. According to research conducted in Europe, every euro spent on OSH produced the return of 2.2 euros, indicating that the cost-benefit ratio of increasing safety and health is favorable. The financial benefits of strong OSH and both large and small business are enormous. To name a few benefits, excellent workplace safety and health, increase workers' productivity, reduce absenteeism, lower compensation payments, and satisfy the need of public and private sector contracts. Okay.
So, Mr. Manmeet, your point of view states that there are good benefits in OSH management, if it's done correctly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Tony, what is your understanding on the occupational safety and health framework?
All right, thank you for the question, Mr. Piravin. So, as we all know that managing safety and health is an integral part of managing a business. Businesses need to do a risk assessment to find out about the hazard and risk in their workplaces and put measures in place to effectively control them to ensure these hazards and risks cannot cause harm to the workers. Besides that, all occupational safety and health, including compliance with the OSH requirements pursuant to national laws and regulations, is the responsibility and duty of the employer. The employer should show strong leadership and commitment to OSH activities in the organization and make appropriate arrangement for the establishment of an OSH management system. The system should contain the main elements of policy, organizing, planning, implementation, evaluation, and action for improvement. So here, as my understanding is that OSH is very important in working place to ensure the safety of the workers and asset. So by to accomplish all of that, the OSH need to have the policy such that an occupational safety and health policy where the employer, in consultation with workers and their representative, should set out in writing an OSH policy to which they are committed and which is communicated to all workers. And beside that, there also need to be worker participation. Worker participation is also an essential element of the OSH management system in the organization. Here, the employer should ensure that their workers and their safety and health representatives are consulted, informed, and trained on all aspects of OSH, including emergency arrangement associated with their work. The employer should also make arrangement for workers and their safety and health representative to have the time and resources to participate actively in the process of organizing, planning, implementation, evaluation, and action for improvement of the OSH management system. So overall here, OSH is very important to ensure everything safe and in align with the company policies and also with the international act of law.
So
That's
you're
it.
saying that a proper OSH framework should be there, lah?
Yes, yeah, true.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anthony. Next, Mr. AMIRUL Sulaiman. What does ILO consider to be the key elements of an OSH system?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Piravin. Okay, for you to know, companies are urged to maintain the highest standard of safety and health in conformity with national requirement. So, a key element is promoting a culture of prevention within the enterprise where the right to a safe and healthy working environment is respected and where employers and workers actively participate in securing a safe and healthy working environment. Not only that, policy should seek foremost to prevent accident and injury to health by minimizing, to the extent reasonably practicable, the causes of hazards inherent in the working environment. Moreover, chemical, physical, and biological substances and agents under the control of the company should not pose a risk to the health of workers when the appropriate measures of protection are taken. Machinery, equipment, and processes should be safe and without risk to health. Last but not least, adequate protective clothing and protective equipment are also important for prevention. This should be provided wherever necessary free of charge to the worker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Amirul. Mr. Karthik, can you please share with us about internal and external collaboration?
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you, Piravin, for asking me this question because this is a really very important question. Okay, let's see about the internal and external collaboration. Internal collaboration is needed for effective implementation of OSH measures. Otherwise, OSH activities will not have full support, and it will not it will only provide only too generous or formal results with limited utility and discouraging effects on further initiatives. Okay, for example, the production departments need to be involved in providing data and support in assessing specific risk and developing feasible operational control measures. Collaboration with the maintenance team contributes to safer work environment and higher productivity. Okay, if we see the external collaboration with other companies or services is also important because according to legislation, the employer has to provide relevant information on risk and protective measures for external workers that works for its company or in its location. So collaboration with external emergency services is really essential, especially for preparedness and response activities. In some nations legislation, if you see, company emergencies plans need to be supervised by a local authority to verify their appropriateness and the compatibility to local plans.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Karthik. Next, Mr. Anthony, what is OSH responsibility and accountability in a day-to-day work operation towards OSH compliance?
All right. Personal health and safety in everyday work is very important, both for business and also any works that need a better supervision of their works. So here, The employer is responsible for ensuring that the workplace is safe and healthy for their employees. So to do this, the employer must be aware of the hazard and also the risk factors in the workplace and know how to manage them. So the employer also has to make sure that the employees have the knowledge and skills required to do their work safely. Besides, the employer also must provide the employees an access to occupational health care. The employees are obliged to follow the orders and instruction given by the employer and to take care of their own safety and the safety of their co-workers. So, besides that also, in practice, the employer enacts their responsibilities and obligation by delegating the authority to the supervisors in the line organization. The supervisor responsibility in occupational health and safety work is determined by the powers related to the task and also the responsibilities. So clearly, defining the occupational safety responsibilities are included within the supervisor's job description and powers helps avoid dangerous situation caused by the ambiguity of the work task. So occupational safety responsibilities related to work tasks should be recorded in the occupational safety and health policy too. So uh, to 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 execute all of the everyday work safety is that we need to have occupational safety and health responsibility roles in one company or working place. So here we can have a senior management which will uh, will make a procedures concerning the implementation and development of occupational health and safety and its monitoring, securing and confirming operational precondition, and also selecting competent supervisors. So besides that, we also need a middle management, which we're preparing the instructions, purchasing machine, equipment and tools, and also monitoring and supervision of working condition and also the work environment. And also, lastly, for the employer part, we need to have a work management, which will do monitoring the condition of machine, equipment, and tools, working guidance, and monitoring that safe working practices and instruction are complied with. But to make it all perfect, it also need to have the responsibilities from the employee too. So here, employee rights and responsibilities in occupational safety are realized individually and also through representative in the occupational health and safety cooperation procedure. So employees must also follow the employer's instruction and regulation and report if there any dangerous situation to their supervisors. An employee also has the right to leave off that work that causes a serious risk to their life or their health. The right to leave off work is based on the Occupational Safety and Health Act. An employee can only leave off work if the risk cannot be avoided by any other immediate measures. So that's it. Thank you, Praveen.
Okay, so Tony, what you're saying is every party in an organization needs to ensure the day-to-day operation
Yes,
towards
true.
OSH compliance.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Next is Mr. Amirul. Is it acceptable practice for a company to fire a worker on the spot without a second warning for failure to wear PPE?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Piravin. Okay, for that question, a worker should not be fired for misconduct that under national law or practice would justify termination only if repeated on one or more occasions unless the employee has given the worker appropriate written warning. Not only that, while an employee may be validly dismissed for his or her misconduct, such as the violation of work rules related to safety and health, steps should be taken to ensure that employees are aware of their obligations and the consequences of violating the work rules. Moreover, the immediate firing of workers for not wearing his or her PPE indicates that does not have a clear understanding of how OSH should be managed effectively within an enterprise. A positive commitment to OSH brings great benefits to the workers and the well-being of them and their families, and to the enterprise in terms of productivity and sustainability. Good safety and health is good business and must be concerned for all parties involved. Last but not least, safety and health in the workers is a shared responsibility. Employers should provide workers with safety-related information and training in order to make sure that they have understood the risks involved and the relevance of safety measures taken, including the use of personal protective equipment (PPE). Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Amirul. Next, Mr. Manmith. The guidelines of labor law, which is ILO, encourage the integration of OSH management systems with other management systems and state that OSH should be an integral part of a business management. What are the elements included in the OSH management system?
Okay, as Mr. Amirul mentioned earlier, there are elements which are included in the OSH management system. Okay, first, the policy covering occupational safety and health policies as well as worker participation. This is the first element that ILO guide in the ILO guideline. Second, organizing, which include ownership and accountability for OSH management implementation, essential skills and training, OSH management system documentation, and efficient communication. This is the second. Okay, third, the initial review, system planning, development, and implementation. OSH objective establishing, hazard prevention, procurement, and contracting are all part of the planning and implementation process. Besides that, the evaluation, which includes performance monitoring and measuring, investigations of work-related injuries, illness, disease, and events, and also their influence on safety and health performance, audit, and management review. Last, the final element is the preventive and corrective action, as well as continuous improvement, are all examples of improvement actions. These are the
Okay.
elements of the ILO guidelines.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Manmith. Next, Mr. Karthik. What are the common or frequently applied management functions in OSH? Mr. Karthik, your microphone is muted.
Oh, sorry. If you
Actually,
ask me, I can say that there are four main applied management function in OSH. Okay, first is planning. Planning is set goals and establish the path that leads to them. The second is organizing. Decide in organizing, we should decide what functions are needed, and then how are they distributed in structural units. Then the relationship between the units, how many persons and what competences are needed for each functions. The third management function is leading. Leading is more to taking decisions and determine people to act on them. And the last management function is controlling. Controlling is comparing progress against plans and results against goals in order to reduce non-conformance and to make improvements sustainable.
okay, thank you, Mr. Karthik. Let me go again to Mr. Manmith. Is hazard identification and assessment one of the elements in OSHA?
Okay, Mr. Piravin. Yes, the hazard identification and assessment is one of the factors recommended in guidelines of OSHA. To undertake continuous work risk assessment, procedures must be in place. starting with a complete baseline workplace investigation and continuing with regular updates and surveys. Use safety leading indicators to spot and assess danger before they can occur. Hazard identification and assessment is a continuous process that involves evaluating the workplace for potential dangers on a regular basis. Employees given a chance to be involved in the identification and assessment of the hazards. It provides employees with a way to alert managers about potentially dangerous situations and encourage them to utilize the system. This allows your safety program to take use of the employees' insights while also giving employees a way to voice their concerns. If employees are afraid of retaliation, if they report problems, it allows them to do it anonymously, like without the higher department or anyone else to know about the report that they have done. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. MANMITH. Next, Mr. AMIRUL SULAIMAN. Is it acceptable that the workers must pay themselves for their personal safety equipment or PPE?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Piravin. Okay, for your information, policies should seek foremost to prevent accident and injury to help by minimizing to the extent reasonably practicably the causes of hazard inherent in the working environment. So, the workers and their representative should be provided adequate information on safety measures to be taken and given appropriate training. That's all the answer for this question.
So what you're saying is actually the organization should actually provide the PPE lah
True.
for the workers. Okay, thank you. Next, let me ask Mr. Anthony. What activity involvement in emergency management activities in contributing to organization sustainability?
All right. So first is that we need to know the risk. Right. So here, listing of potential emergencies and ranking them in regards to importance and likelihood is very essential to knowing what to do and what resources we to invest. So there is no need to invest dollars in such as hurricane planning. If the facility is not near a coastal area, nor should spend a lot of time for earthquake planning if the facility is not near any area normally susceptible to earthquake or with a history of seismic activity. So we can do a risk assessment should be based on all hazard approach for those hazards affecting the facility. So a risk matrix can help identify the areas where an investment is most needed. Using this type of metric, the facility or security manager can categorize each risk or emergency based on the impact it would have if it occurs and the likelihood of the event happening in the area. So secondly is to build a team. So many emergency response plans are created in a vacuum with no input from the end users. So that's the wrong approach to take lah. In today's environment, every individual in the organization may have a role as a kind of first responder who is expected to follow the rule, see something or say something. So emergency plans should be the product of an inclusive team instead of single individual or a group. So by putting together a team of subject matter experts from different departments will help in determining the overall span of the plan, including a cycle of the 4 phases of emergency management. Lastly is that to make a critical information quickly accessible. So many times, if asked to see an emergency plan, someone may goes to a file cabinet or shelf and pulls out a 3-ring binder, at least 2 inches thick, and hands the ready document for us to read, right? So here, a plan like that certainly reflects a lot of work. But does anyone really know what's in it, and does it really describe the methods to respond during the emergency event? So we need to have a quick training or a quick access to how that we can handle any emergency situation. So it will it will make a sustainability for our emergency plan. So thank you, Mr. Pravin. That's it for the answer.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Anthony.
Yes.
Is it that like during the recent floods in Malaysia, like
Yes.
you are saying like if our plant is not in a prone area, so
Mhm.
like we don't have to spend more like risk assessment for the flooding to be occur. Is it that
Uh,
way? Like we know like our plant is not in a flooding prone area, so like
okay.
we should not like invest in more to the risk of the flood. Is it that way?
Yes, yes. So as I was saying before, just now, so if the if the area was prone to flood, then we should take more. We should
Steps.
so we need to prepare a better step for that, because we know that if the area is prone to flood, then we need to prepare. So how are we going to
Yeah.
handle in case is there any situation of emergency, right?
But if the place is
Okay.
not prone to flood, how would that happen?
Like if it's not prone to
We
flood, like uh,
we should
so
give importance to some other
yes,
possibilities
yes,
of
yes.
other
Some
things.
others of yes, true. So we going to invest or study or train our employees how to handle emergencies when it happens there. So such as if we're working in oil and gas industry, so how are we going to respond when there is gas leak, dangerous gas
Accidents,
leak,
explosions.
accidents, or are also or explosion of the gas. So so that is what I'm trying to say, that we need to know our risk.
Okay, so
Uh,
what you're trying to say is if there is a risk, there is a priority,
yes.
then resources should be used to analyze the risks and to prepare a better OSH. If there is no risk,
Yes.
then we no need to use so much of resources to analyze it actually.
So that we can cut off any budgets or any
Uh,
unnecessary plans or consuming unnecessary times.
okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Mr. MANMITH, and thank you for the answer, Mr. Anthony. Finally, I would like to ask Mr. KARRTHIK, can you please explain about the maturity of the OSH management?
Yeah, sure. Okay. There's also a fourth stage of your maturity in OSH management. Okay, first is reactive stage. Reactive stage is organizations have little OSH management expertise and react to the problems. For example, like just now, Mr. Tony said, if there is an accident, right? So if the accidents as they arise or when sanctioned by the authorized, the reactive team should be aware of about the accidents. Then the second stage is the systematic stage. Organizations carry out periodic planning, periodization of problems, and implementation of planned control measures based on risk assessment. And they may use external OSH expertise while still developing in internal OSH competencies. Then the third stage is system stage. Organizations implements and maintain on OSH management system applied continuously and even before the start of new activities. And the last stage is proactive stage. Okay, in this stage, organization should integrate OSH management into other systems, for example, for quality or environment, and into their business processes. The focus in on continuous improvement, more effort is expended at the design stage of products, processes, workplaces, and also work organizations. Uh, and then collective learning is promoted as well. Okay, this can include workplace health promotions, which is increasingly being recognized as a positive business asset. That's
Okay, thank you, Mr. KARRTHIK. That's all for the questions on the forum. So I would like to thank all the panelists, Mr. AMIRUL, Mr. KARRTHIK, Mr. Anthony, and Mr. MANMITH for participating today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Piravin. We had a great time with you for this QA section. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for the all
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
the
you.
information.
Thank you, everyone.